When will I learn to read? Child, you don't have any homework from school? Mama would say to me when I entered the house on the first day of K4. No, ma'am, I would say in the most innocent voice I could muster. As far as I can remember, I don't ever recall having homework from school in kindergarten. I was used to my mother always reading to me, and my first days of school consist of naps. I asked my mother in a sad voice, Mom, I thought school was supposed to be about reading, not snacks and naps. I was receiving more education at home than I was at school, and my mother was paying for me to attend. I attended Catholic school as a child, and tuition was expensive being that I wasn't Catholic. I patiently waited for things to change before complaining anymore. After settling in this new school, my family decided to move to Columbia, South Carolina from Atlanta, Georgia, which was a huge change for me. Going to K-5 with different students that I was used to was an even greater ordeal. I had just lost my 2 front teeth, and those things were growing in quick. Boy, did I think I was something. I couldn't wait to get to my new school to meet new friends and show them what I was working with. I bet they still had their baby teeth in. I knew I was bad with a capital B. Besides being the toothless cutie in the sandbox, I was also excited about being in the first grade. I would finally be able to learn how to read. I was tired of picking up books in my house and asking my big sister and mother to read to me. Or, what does this say? Don't get me wrong, I love my mother and big sister reading to me, but dang, I wanted to read too. My sister and I shared a room, and I vividly remember my mother coming into the room and reading to us. Did you girls brush your teeth? My mom would say, yes ma'am. My sister and I would say in unison, okay, well, what book would you girls like for me to read to you tonight? My sister and I responded saying The Three Little Pigs. As my sister and I sat in our beds, listening to my mom read so fluently to us, The Three Little Pigs. Little pig, let me in, not by the hairs on my chin chin chin. Mama would teach me little words when she could. I remember it like yesterday when my mom would help me sound out syllables. What does the letters C and H make when they are side by side in a word? She would say. I would reply, sh, and so forth. I thought I was reading too, but that was just my definition of it. Reading to me meant just sounding out syllables. To others, it was reading books, but you couldn't tell me that. I wonder when I was going to be able to read like that. One day when my mom was finished reading to me, I answered that exact question, and she told me that the time would come, and by then I would be in the first grade. Don't get me wrong, I knew some words. On my first day of school, entering the first grade, I was so excited that my mom didn't even have to wake me up. I remember my mom saying that I would be able to read in the first grade, and I was more than excited. My sister and I were already dressed and ready before my mother came upstairs. Well, looks like someone's already dressed and ready for school, my mom said to me. I sure am, I responded, so we all hopped in my mom's car and were off to school. The closer we got to my new school, the anxious I became. When I arrived at school, I wasn't as happy as I had been before. Suddenly I became scared because the kids seemed so much bigger than me, and I wanted to make friends right away. When I walked into the classroom, I froze. It was not at all what I expected, which was a classroom filled with books. Instead, the class consisted of 5 round tables and chairs underneath. The classroom wasn't colorful like regular schools when you see on TV. The walls were white and the classroom stunk. It smelled of baby diapers. I thought to myself that this is not at all what I imagined. After a while, coloring books became the classroom. It was fun coloring and playing all the time, but I wanted to read. By mid-year, the class finally started something called silent reading. This was when the whole class was quiet and you sat down and you read your book. I didn't understand how we were supposed to read on our own and didn't know how. Today was the day I was going to learn to read. Different student teachers were assigned to come in our classroom and help us to sound out and pronounce words we didn't know. At first I thought it would be hard, but Mrs. Bunch purposely gave us easy books with basic words. The end of the school year slowly approached and I began to read. As I've learned to say now, my vocabulary began to increase. Words like at and the and because were nothing to me. The following summer, my family and I moved to Gaston, South Carolina. The first day of school was amazing. It was nothing like the other schools. There was this huge bookshelf in the back of the classroom, and that was the first thing I spotted when I looked in the classroom. Not only that, there was a huge fish tank. with many colorful fish in her classroom too. The vibe Miss Igo's class gave off just made me want to learn and got me interested in so many things. When class officially got started, Miss Igo made an announcement saying that we were going to be split up in reading groups. Some are going to be reading picture books, some are going to be reading chapter books. A big silly grin appeared across my face because I knew I would continue to progress in my new reading skills. One by one, she called us outside to read to her, and that's how she was going to determine which group she was going to put us in. Not shortly after, she called me out in the hall to read to her. I still had that big silly grin on my face that I had before as I walked out the door. I sat down in the chair in front of Miss Igo and opened up the book she handed me. A lot of words I couldn't understand, so I just skipped over them and just read the words I knew. At my old school, I started small and was just beginning to move into bigger books. Once I finished reading the book to her, she told me to go back to the classroom and send the next student out. The next day, we actually started reading. When one of the girls in my reading group started reading, I noticed immediately that she was a better reader than I was. So the next person started reading, and she was a better reader than me too. Next, the boy in my reading group started reading, and once again, he a better reader than me too. When it was my turn, I was looking like Boo Boo the Fool because I didn't read as well as they did. I was upset because my older teacher hadn't taught me better. I rushed home and found my mother in the kitchen cooking. "Mom, what are you cooking? Because it surely smells good." She totally ignored me and asked me about school. "What did you learn in school today, baby?" I told her. School was great, but the only problem was that I was behind in my reading. She finally came out and said that my teacher called and wants to tutor me because I was behind. I didn't mind that part because I was willing to learn. So every day I went to Mrs. Igo's class after school and got tutored on my reading and the basic elements of reading that I need to know to be able to read on the right level. I remember my teacher would tutor me and start with the basics, which was the sign of each word in the alphabet, which helped me form the sound of each word that I read. I already knew this stuff as well as basic words like the and at and it, but I didn't tell her that. I sat there and listened because maybe she could teach me a better and faster method than my previous teacher. She taught me stem and root words. She told me that the long words tend to have shorter words in them. These basic elements of reading helped me grow very quickly as a reader. By the end of the year, I was able to be in the group with the people that read the chapter books. I said goodbye to those picture books and hello to the chapter books. I owe it to my teacher, Miss Igo, for teaching me the fundamentals of reading, which helped me grow as a reader. Now I can read to my big sister and mother at night and show them that I can do anything I can put my mind to. I realized that the story of the Three Little Pigs was much like my dilemma. Going to that poor school where the teachers didn't care about whether the students learned how to read or not was me building my house with the sticks and straws. Then when it came time for me to prove myself of my ability to read, I came crumbling down just like the house did when the big bad wolf blew it down. The reason the house came crumbling down so easily was because it didn't have a good foundation, just like I didn't. Since my teacher, Miss Igo, taught me the fundamentals of reading, she gave me the key to a good foundation, just like the one little pig had when he built his house with bricks, and the big bad wolf couldn't blow his house down. Overcoming this ordeal made me a great reader and writer. Anytime I had a problem in school, I just think back to the time I learned to read. I just started at the basics and worked my way up. My weakness became my motivation, and it helped me achieve greatness.